Hello, dear listeners, and welcome to Bookmark, a show talking all about books.
I am Lynette Martinez, your host, and here with me today is my co host Rusty DuPont and our lovely technician and producer Madeline Wick. Today's topic will actually be about book processing and one book from our very own Rusty DuPont.
Oh, yes, thank you, Lynn. And I'm a bit surprised about the topic being my book since it is a bit unfinished. It is now about 23,000 words on the making, and it is a high fantasy sci fi with futuristic apocalyptic vibes to it.
All right, that already sounds so interesting to read. So, will this book be a single storybook or more like a series or a trilogy?
It's actually, I parted it a bit complicatedly, if you will. Each book, which will be a trilogy in the end, the series, each book will have two parts in itself, like a part one and a part two. And it's a complete narrative on itself, each part. However, it is most closely related to the part that it is presented on in the same book. But you can kind of have a little break with just reading one part. So if you read it by part, you will technically be reading six books, but there will only be three books published.
Okay, so three physical books out published is what your goal.
Yes, and like six stories.
Okay, that is very interesting. So, was this your first book? Was it a hard decision to make or to take on such a large project like this?
A little bit. I was thinking about last year when I started to take up this series or project again, that it was hard, it was complicated, there was a lot of trope, if you will, that I have to write really, really well for it to be digested well by the readers, if you will. And I started writing like many other short, like single story book stuff. And honestly, it just kind of feel like procrastination to me after a while. So I put a pin on the small storybook and started writing it again by like, and also finishing the lore, if you will. So I have every detail that because I'm a very anxious writer, I just need the detail figured out for me. Because if the plot doesn't make sense, it's just kind of hard to write.
Right. All right. You seem to be a very hard worker, and from the looks of it, you're writing a lot at this speed. So how many hours have you put into this book?
Actually, that's a funny part. I've been working on this book since I'm 15, and now I'm about to be 21. So actually, it's close to 6 years. It's not that the work will take you 6 years. It's just that when I created the concept, I was incredibly young. It was like this weird nightmare I had of of my family falling into the Golden Gates Bridge water. And I woke up in a terrified sweat, and I was like, "Oh my god, I have to write this."
That's a horrifying image.
I know.
to have.
And after writing it, I realized about like 17 years old that I perhaps do not have all of the skills I wanted to write this book as epically, if you will, as I wanted. And so I taken a lot of creative writing like classes in university, and it actually did help a bit. I went back to my project and rewrite some of the stuff. Actually, I rewrote a lot of the stuff, and now it's just the plot have grown beyond that nightmare, if you will.
So it's good to say that you grew up with this story in mind, and it's evolved with you alongside.
Yes, the human experience. I like to put that a lot in most of my story.
Very interesting. Does writing energize you or exhaust you? Have you experienced any writer's block lately?
See, that is a funny question because the answer will always be it depends. But also, let me give you some context. Writing is work. Same thing as art and other things that you produce because you may love it and you may be passionate about it, but sometimes you just get tired because again, you are working on it. It energizes me in the way that if I have some boring things to do, I'll be like, "Oh, I want to go home and write." Oh my god! And I would just start like hallucinating my plots, if you will, because I'm bored. And then I would go home and I would write like I don't know 1,000 words, and then I just get, "Oh, I'm kind of tired now," or you just keep slogging through it. But again, it's tiring. Or sometimes you're like, "Oh, this sentence it just doesn't make sense,"
Yeah.
and it trips you up. But you just gotta, just write it out. You also have to remember as a writer, first draft. Just bang out your first draft. Please just have something, because having something to fix is better than having nothing at all.
Oh, you're right. You're right. So, do you have any plans to write another book, or do you have any unpublished or unfinished books in mind?
Oh my god, I have like dozens of unfinished book, and this book alone will be like a 3-part series. So I I will have to write a lot. Like I'm trying to maybe get it published by the end of this year, because I've researched, and apparently November up to February is the highest physical book sale scale,
Or
because everyone is again stuck inside.
Mhm.
It's cold, winter, everything, or it's rainy,
nothing to do.
nothing
No.
to do, holidays. You buy more physical books. Also, it's just the fall vibe, like, oh my god, the fall girly.
Right.
I do that a lot. Like I buy I buy books a lot during fall, so I would know. So if I try to release it by, I'd say, November, and then up to February, it would be a great sale. So I also have to think about like the sales and the advertisement and things for the book.
Right. This is great. This segues to my next question. How do you measure success with the release of your book? Sales, people enjoying it, etc. What would be your goal ultimately?
Well, classic answer will always be sales and like popularity with your reader. You build a fan base. They talk about it, kind of become a cult classic or something. Hopefully it does. Uh, but actually, my measure of success is my mom not calling me angry. What is this? What did you write? What is this in the book? Oh, God, Mom. you know?
Yeah. All right. Do you make a writing decision solely based on how you want the book to go, or do you make decisions that you think will appease readers the most?
See, I'm the type of artist, if you will, that is like, well, I can create, so I'm just going to create for myself type of artist. But also, I get that to create, I do need an audience to judge it, if you will. So I write everything I want to happen in the book, but I also have to write it in a way that is,
Considers kind of an
yeah, palatable to the reader. Not just palatable, even, like, it entice them.
Yeah.
It's like enticing for them to read more or to be invested in it. So yes, I do have to think about the reader, but again, you can't just
always make it about.
also make all decisions on readers. That's why.
Well, thank you. So my next question. So tell me about the process of writing characters that you don't personally relate to.
Well, as an artist, I just use the usual like characterization approach. I just objectively I give them a character trait, and then I try to develop it, even though I don't like them. But I do like fleshed out characters, so I still try to flesh them out a lot.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. And all right, that's a wrap on our episode. But before that, a word from our sponsors.
If you're anything like us here at Bookmark, just the thought of pizza gets your mouth watering. That's why we're proud to say Papa John's is the first sponsor of our podcast. With better ingredient and better pizza, Papa John is exactly what you need for dinner tonight. Use the code BOOKMARK for 20% off your order all summer long. Again, the code is BOOKMARK for 20% off. Tune in for the next episode where we will be talking about The Stranger by Albert Camus. And as always,
Thank you for listening to Bookmark.
goodbye.